All right. This is an excerpt from the book So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oluo. And so just gonna read through this, and you're welcome to have this up as you read through it or listen to it as you complete the assignment. So this is from the chapter, What if I talk about race wrong? And I'm starting from the part on the right-hand side. You're going to screw this up. Right. You're going to screw this up royally, more than once. I'm sorry. I wish I could say that reading this book would guarantee that you never leave a conversation about race feeling like you've gotten it all wrong and made everything worse, but I can't. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and you should have these conversations anyway. So now that I've thoroughly bummed you out, let's work on what we can do to lessen the number of times you screw this conversation up, minimize the amount of damage you do, and maximize the benefit to all involved. Here are some basic tips that will increase your chance of conversation success, or at least decrease your chance of conversation disaster. Number one, state your intentions. Do you know why you're having this particular conversation? Do you know why this matters to you? Is there something in particular that you are trying to communicate or understand? Figure it out before moving forward, and then state what your intentions are so that the people you are talking with can determine whether this is a conversation they are willing to join. Very often, these attempts at conversation fail because two people are entering with two very incompatible agendas and proceed to have two very different conversations, and that doesn't become clear until it blows up in anger and frustration. Number two, remember what your top priority in the conversation is and don't let your emotions override that. If your top priority is understanding racism better, or addressing an incident involving race, or righting a wrong caused by racism, don't let the top priority suddenly become avenging your wounded pride if the conversation has you feeling defensive. Number three, do your research. If you're going to be talking about an issue you're not familiar with, a quick Google search will save everyone involved a lot of time and frustration. If terms or subjects come up that you are not familiar with, you can ask for some clarification if you are in person, but know that if you are a white person talking to a person of color, it is never their job to become your personal Google. If you are online and these topics or terms come up, you can Google faster than it takes to hold up the entire conversation begging people to explain things to you. Even if you are a person of color, making sure you understand more about the topic you are trying to address beyond your immediate experience with it will give you more confidence in your conversation and will help you get your point across. Number four, don't make your anti-racism argument oppressive against other groups. When stressed, when angry, when tired, or when threatened, our worst selves can come out. It is fine to be angry. There's a lot about racism to be angry about, and it is fine to express that anger. But it's never okay to battle racism with sexism, transphobia, ableism, or other oppressive language and actions. Don't stoop to that level, and don't allow others to. We must be willing to fight oppression in all of its forms. Number five, when you start to feel defensive, stop and ask yourself why. If you are talking about race and you suddenly feel the need to defend yourself vigorously, stop and ask yourself, what is being threatened here? What am I thinking that this conversation says about me? And has my top priority shifted to preserving my ego? If you are too heated to ask yourself these questions, at least try to take a few minutes away to catch your breath and lower your heart rate so that you can. This is something that happens to people of all races, and not only can it stop us from hearing things that need to be said, it can stop us from saying what we really mean to say. Number six, do not tone police. Do not require that people make their discussions on the racial oppression they face comfortable for you. See Chapter 15 for more details. We don't have Chapter 15, so you don't have to worry about that right now. Number seven, if you're white, watch how many times you say I and me. Remember, systemic racism is about more than individuals, and it is not about your personal feelings. If you find yourself frequently referring to your feelings and your viewpoint, chances are you're making this all about you. Number eight, ask yourself, am I trying to be right or am I trying to do better? Conversations on racism should never be about winning. This battle is too important to be so simplified. You are in this to share and to learn. You are in this to do better and be better. You're not trying to score points, and victory will rarely look like your opponent conceding defeat and vowing to never argue with you again. Because your opponent isn't a person, it is a system of racism that often shows up in the words and actions of other people. Number 9, do not force people of color into discussions about race. People of color live with racism each and every day, with no say over when and how it impacts their lives. It is painful and exhausting. When people of color have the rare luxury to choose to not engage in additional dialogue about race, do not deny them that. Even if this discussion is really important to you, you never have a right to demand it. There will be other opportunities. These tips should help you have more healthy and productive conversations on race and racism. Look through the list and try to recognize where you have had trouble in the past, and make a concerted effort to practice the tips that may address where things have gone wrong. But even with all your practice and with the best of your intentions, there will be times where this all goes to, you know what, author's words. There will be times where you truly lose a plot and you aren't sure what has happened, but you do know that you have really messed it up. So as we finish up this, I want to go back to our group norms that you gave consent on. Permission to be inarticulate, as we speak our truth. And then assume positive intentions, right? And be kind and empathetic. So really key here, people are going to mess up, but did they have negative intentions when they, said something that was taken as rude and offensive? Also, if you have messed up, are you owning it? Are you trying to be better and trying to figure out where you went wrong, what you might have said, and how we can move forward in the future and not have this same slip up?